Okay, it's really important to consider the whole life carbon footprint of every material and component in your building. It's important to do this because we got our heads around operational carbon, the emissions to heat and light a building, but it's the sort of carbon footprint of designing and building constructing the building in the first place that's really important. We need to reduce that. The construction sector consumes hundreds of millions of tons of materials a year. In fact, the construction sector consumes 50 billion tons of raw material a year around the world. It's the consumption of raw materials that's destroying landscapes, polluting our oceans, etc. So if we can reduce that, then we're going to meet our whole life carbon targets, our net zero targets for 2050. There are real benefits, if it's possible, to specify second-hand materials because they've already got their embodied carbon footprint. So you value that. You know, that's a commodity. So if you're able to reuse rather than recycle, because recycle is where you shred a material, melt it or whatever, if you can reuse it, then the whole life carbon footprint of that thing is a lot less. If you're assembling a building out of second-hand components, the whole life carbon footprint is really small. You're only talking about the operational carbon footprint. But there's going to be legislation very soon that says that building owners have to declare the whole life carbon footprint of their building, so the embodied carbon footprint is ever more important. The idea of specifying second-hand materials is great. There are people beginning to do it. By the way, we've always done it as a human race. You know, we like second-hand London stock bricks, etc. So, you know, there's a way of doing that we just got to remember. The problem is how do you get the sort of design warranty and guarantee of performance from a second-hand product? Now, the good news is actually that because we construct buildings and demolish them so quickly when they're only like 20, 25 years old, if that's going to happen, you can slow down the demolition to deconstruction. What people are doing is actually engaging with the supply chain that built that 20-year-old building in the first place, because they probably still exist, because it's only a young supply chain. So that's the benefit of having a society at the moment where we demolish relatively quickly. The supply chain's still intact. And that's what's happening at the moment. Number 1 Triton Square in the City of London has got its 20-year-old facade refurbished with design warranties by the original supplier. At the moment, we're actively encouraged to demolish. You know, if you build a new building, you've got no VAT. If you refurbish, do a deep green retrofit on a building, you're paying 20% on everything that's arriving on site. So we've got to change the VAT rules. We've got to realise that by doing that, we'll stimulate the construction sector. You know, we've got to think of retrofit as a sort of infrastructure project, but it's a levelling up retrofit project for the whole of the country. We've got 27 million homes to retrofit.